My name is Todd Elkite, and I'm the Department Chair for PE, Health, and Drive Ed at Lockport Township High School. I'm here to talk to you about what we're doing for social emotional learning at LTHS and how we decided on the model we're using. Last spring, the arrival of COVID-19 pandemic caused everyone to change what and how they teach in the virtual hybrid learning environment. Through conversations with our students, our parents, and our staff, we found the stress and anxiety levels of our students was increasing tremendously. We realized we needed to address this, but many teachers weren't well versed in teaching these topics. Through the help of Kids Matter, some members of our staff went through training over the summer in the Resilient Youth Program. There are many different programs out there, but we really like the Resilient Youth Program because of the interactions with the teacher and the students. We wanted to work to build relationships and be a resource that our students could turn to in time of need. We felt that you couldn't really get that through a canned program, so we took the content that we learned in our training, made it our own, and that would most benefit our students. The lessons that we developed first help students define stress, understand the physiological effects of stress on the body. The next step was to reach out to students and have them reflect using Google Forms to identify what stress they deal with individually. We let them know what causes stress to an individual may vary, but it's imperative to understand how to process these stressors using adaptive coping skills. We use the Yerkes-Dodson model to explain that a certain level of stress is okay, and it can actually increase performance. However, when we can't balance our stress levels, that is when performance and overall health begins to break down. We use the majority of our first semester in teaching our students how to activate their relaxation response. We use breathing exercises, visualization, imagery to give our students experiences in managing their stress levels. During the second semester, we'll expand our lessons to cover reframing strategies and give our students other ways for students to initiate the relaxation response. The feedback from the students has been tremendous. Each lesson had a reflective Google form that students used to respond to certain prompts. The students opened up and were very honest and truthful in their responses. We were able to identify some students that needed additional supports immediately. We took the information from these forums to our administration, and we came up with a district-wide plan to help address the needs of our student body, bringing in CASEL framework. We have teamed up with our guidance department, and a counselor or social worker will join in each one of our classes once a month to be there as a resource to help in the discussions with our students. Aside from addressing the SEL needs of our students, this has been tremendous for how our department is viewed in our community and amplifies the good that comes from a well-balanced physical education program.
Hi, and my name is Michelle Cannon. I'm a PE teacher at Lockport Township High School. I've been teaching for 18 years at the Freshman Center, doing primarily overall fitness, but this year I am actually teaching dance and health in the upperclassmen building. So today I'm going to talk about social emotional training and how we're trying to help our students manage their stress and emotions for life. So every year that I've been teaching, I often give my students a survey about what kind of things they would like for me to incorporate into their PE program. I find it gives me connection as well as ownership for the students, because if they enjoy what they do, they're going to hopefully continue doing it. This year is a little bit different just because I can't do the typical dance education that I would normally do, so I wanted to know how else I could help my students. So if you could see here, these were the responses from some of the questions that I gave, and almost 81% of my students said that they would like to focus on their emotional wellness because they were struggling with stress. If you also saw that a lot of them really wanted to focus on their physical wellness as well, so about 73%. I also asked them to check anything that they would like to incorporate into the class. And if you could see that almost 83% of my students said they would like to focus on their mental wellness and reduce their stress levels, which is why we chose to incorporate the social emotional training into our program. So part of our program is that we talk about different types of stress and how they affect the wellness of the student. And we asked about the different symptoms and how they affect. So one of the responses was how stress affects the relational symptoms. And if you could see from here, 64 of our students, or 62%, said they isolate from their peers and their family. They feel disconnected from loved ones and a feeling of needing to prove themselves. Physically, our students feel a wide variety of symptoms from headaches to sleep difficulties, restlessness, tiredness, tightness in their back, sweaty palms, racing heart rate. So quite a few across the board. So the thing to notice when we're doing these types of surveys is that it's important for students to realize that they're not alone in how they feel. So whether or not it's how they're feeling, the symptoms they're feeling, or just in overall their mental wellness, that they're not alone in how they're feeling. And especially with this, we ask the students what stresses them out. And you could see that they say their family, their friends, the future, school and family issues, keeping up with schoolwork. We ask them, how does it make them feel? They often say that they feel emotionally drained, sad, constantly on edge. Their body feels tense. They get a pit in their stomach, lump in their throat, the verge of crying or feeling very sad, anxious, tired, and aggravated, like the walls are closing in. They have a rock in their throat. They feel all the emotions at once, overwhelmed and trapped, sad and anxious. So these were just the overlying themes to all the questions and how they made them feel. And the biggest thing, as I stated before, is that they are not alone in how they feel and what they're feeling and the situations that are causing them stress. They all seem to have similar concepts. So in our topic 1, we talk about stress awareness. What causes their stress, much like I showed you before. How does that stress make them feel, both physically and emotionally? And we gave them the stress checklist, and those are the results that I showed you. We also talk about adaptive and maladaptive coping skills. So some of the maladaptive coping skills, or the bad ways of dealing with stress, are becoming upset emotionally. They're highly reactive and sensitive. They're easily embarrassed or offended. They have difficulty taking praise or criticism. They can tattle or blame other people, or they may display repetitive behaviors. There's many more maladaptive coping skills. This is just a taste of just some of the ones that are most commonly occurring in our students. We also talked about adaptive coping skills and some good ways that students deal with their stress levels, such as writing and drawing, playing an instrument or dancing, taking a shower or a bath, a walk. I like to say watch cute videos on YouTube that make them smile, play a game, cleaning or organizing their environment, reading, taking a break, or exercising. So the good thing is we often ask the students what are some of the other ways that they deal with their stress in a healthy manner. We also play a quizzes game where we ask the students whether or not a certain behavior is adaptive or maladaptive. It's a nice little follow-up and a fun game so they feel engaged. So the biggest thing to notice when you are doing this SEL training is that you try to engage the students as much as you can so that they can provide their input or how they're feeling, but probably do it on an anonymous basis where they feel comfortable giving their opinion. I would also seek out to give them some other phone calls or text message services or the counselor if they're feeling that how they're feeling is kind of serious or you might be concerned for them. So the Yerkes-Dodson stress curve is what Todd Alki had talked about before. And this is just a nice visual for our students to realize that it is important that our body experiences stress on a daily basis, but too much stress, also distress, can cause a breakdown or a burnout and is not productive. But a little bit of stress can provide optimal performance for our students. An activity that we do so the students can realize how stress affects the body And we also call this the mind-body connection. So I'm going to take you through this exercise, and you can feel free to perform it with your students or your staff. Is that you're going to sit down and you're going to take your fists, and down at your side, you're going to squeeze your hands and make a fist as hard as you can. And keep squeezing and squeeze harder. Keep tightening your fist. Squeeze. Keep squeezing harder. Try to squeeze as hard as you can. Keep squeezing. Keep squeezing a little bit harder. And relax. Now, how did that make you feel? If you're like our students, you probably felt a little uncomfortable, maybe a little bit stressed, maybe a little bit tense. And we're going to ask our students how they felt, both emotionally and physically, while they did that exercise. We're also going to find a link between the two. So the students said they often felt very stressed, and they might have felt tension in their shoulders and their arm, sometimes their back, and sometimes their chest. And they had a difficult time breathing. That feeling may have made them feel anxious or uncomfortable, a little nervous, because they're wondering, when is this exercise going to be done? That's called the mind-body connection. What we think often affects our body, and sometimes often what our body is experiencing can also cause us stress emotionally and mentally. So what we're trying to do through this training is to teach our students how to overcome and how to use their mind to calm their body, or how to use their breathing to calm their mind. So one of the things we also show are just a few informational videos, and we talk about them. And this was a really great video from TED Talk on YouTube, and it talks about how chronic stress affects your brain. I'm not going to play this for you. You can find it on your own, but it's a great instructional tool for your students to kind of talk about what they learned, especially how stress can affect the size of your brain over time. We also talk about students, how what one might find stressful, the other finds enjoyable. And that can be our viewpoint about stress, and how we can often change our viewpoint of stress so that we don't exhibit a distress. And it's more of a eustress, which is that positive stress. So we talk about whether or not going to the prom causes you stress or not stress. So I often use Paradox or Nearpods to relay these instructional messages to my students. It's a great way for them to feel engaged and provide their opinion or what they're feeling, but really without their name attached to it. So the student will drag their little icon to whether or not this activity would make them feel stressful in a negative way or not stressful. We talk about how taking a test, some students feel taking tests is stressful as opposed to not, as well as applying for college. So we give them a whole bunch of different scenarios, and a lot of times they'll find that they're not in the same, they're in the same boat as other people, that they may find this stressful or they may not find this stressful. And it's all our viewpoint and how we perceive that stress. So we ask our students, would they like to see a decrease in any of the following, such as a decrease in stress and anxiety, freedom from compulsive worrying, an increase in concentration and awareness, reduced self-criticism, better sleep and less muscle tension, enhanced performance and self-acceptance. Most of the time, our students are going to say yes to every single one of these. If so, then the relaxation response exercises that we teach as part of the program are going to benefit them. So there's two basic components that are involved in the relaxation response: a mental focusing tool, as well as a quiet, aware, and non-judging attitude, meaning students won't judge themselves, and obviously the teacher will not judge the student. We like to be in a quiet position or a quiet place that's free from distractions, as well as being aware of how we're feeling, what's going on in our minds. So there are different ways to elicit this relaxation response. We're going to go over a few of our favorites. Again, this is a whole semester long program, but we are linking a lot of our resources to this PowerPoint that I'm going to provide you. So if you click on meditation or you click on certain pictures, it's going to take you to some scripts or very useful links that you can use to help your students. So meditation, breath focus, yoga and stretching, progressive muscle relaxation, mindfulness, body scan, and imagery are just some of the tools that we're using as the relaxation response. So the first one, as we talk about breath awareness, is that I'm going to have my students give me a deep breath. So I'll just say, hey, take a deep breath in whatever way that you can. And then I'm going to ask them, does your body go up and get taller with that deep breath? Or does your body expand and widen as you take that breath? And I also often ask them to write their answer in the chat just to see how many students get taller or widen. For the most part, most of my students get taller and their body goes up as they breathe. This is known as intercostal breathing. And when your body expands or gets widened, that's known as diaphragmatic breathing. So the most efficient way to breathe is the diaphragmatic breathing, where you're using your diaphragm to get that oxygen in. So this is a great little video. If you just look up, you've been breathing wrong on YouTube. It's a great short video that talks about the proper way to breathe and why we stopped breathing that way and some of the things that have happened to us as we've matured that caused us to breathe incorrectly. So it's really fascinating to talk with students. They really enjoy this video. So we teach our students what's the proper way to breathe, especially as we do our relaxation response. Just to note that I have had a few students say that they don't necessarily feel comfortable breathing this way. It's a very small amount, but I just wanted to let you know that in the case that you do have a student say they don't feel comfortable this way, to just breathe on their own in a normal manner. But the way that you would do belly breathing is that you can place your hands on your belly and your chest if you feel comfortable, or lay them at your side. And just be aware of, as you're inhaling, you're going to try to fill your belly up first, then your ribs, and then your chest. As you exhale, you're going to try to let the air escape from the chest first, the ribs, and the belly. So inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. And that's known as belly breathing. And this is the most effective way to get oxygen in the body and elicit that relaxation response. So this type of breathing helps release tension and deepen that relaxation, increase your emotional control and your clarity of mind, because you are getting that extra oxygen to the cells and organs of your body. When that happens, you get a deeper power of concentration, which helps promote good health and helps you sleep better. So I've often told my students to practice this belly breathing right before they go to bed, or any of the exercises that we're going to show you. So part of our SEL training is to assess our students. We often do little responses, journal reflections at the end of our units and our days to see which exercises did they like the most, how did they feel after and before that they did a certain exercise. And there's a variety of different questions that we ask our students. We first did it in a Google Doc, in a Google form, and we found that it really wasn't very easy to grade. So we kind of switched over to doing in a Google Doc format, where we had our questions and then in the box they would answer. Made it easier for grading, and the students also just appreciated that type of document, and we were able to make a copy for each student. So if you choose to assess your students, I would suggest doing a Google Doc and making a copy for every student, and they have it in their file. So some of the breathing exercises that we're going to go over are called minis, and I love minis because they're short. Students can do them anywhere. You can make it anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, so however much time that you might have. And you can also fit in a few each day, which helps. So it's very applicable to a student's life. If you're sitting at a light If you're waiting for the bus, if you arrive to class a little bit earlier, you could just practice these breathing techniques. So the first one, I call it the countdown type of breathing of minis. So you're going to count down very slowly to yourself from 10 to 0, and one number for each out breath. So for instance, you're going to inhale using your belly breathing. And as you exhale, you're going to count yourself 10. So 10. Inhale. Exhale. 9. Inhale. Exhale. 8. All the way till you get to 0. At that point in time, I just give the students a little bit extra time to feel relaxed and just kind of a calm sensation. When I do minis or any type of breathing exercise, I often will find a meditative music, relaxation sounds in the background to drown out any sounds that might be happening. And also just is very soothing to hear certain sounds as well. The next mini version is mini version B. I call this the I am version. It's again anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. So as long as you need, you can do it. So the student is going to inhale, and as they're inhaling, they're going to say to themselves, I am. And as they exhale, they're going to say to themselves, at peace. So I like to guide the students in the beginning with this type of mini version, and then I slowly kind of fade out to allow them to take over. And I let them know that that's going to happen so that they're not waiting for me to say a certain word. So for instance, you're going to tell your student to get into a comfortable position, sometimes sitting down, sometimes lying down, sometimes with their back against the wall. At any point in time, if they need to move, I say to move, because if you're not comfortable, you're not going to be able to be relaxed. They're going to close their eyes, but if you have a student that doesn't feel comfortable closing their eyes, I will often put an image for them to look at that can be calming. And I'm going to have them inhale and say, I am, and exhale, at peace. Inhale, I am, exhale, at peace. Inhale, I am, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So after a few minutes, I will have my students start to wiggle their toes, start to breathe normally, start to bring their awareness back to the room. Now, it is important to note and tell your students that any time during these exercises, if their mind starts to wander towards a thought or a situation, that is okay. That is the not being judging, because we understand, even for adults, that our minds just wander, maybe about something we have to do or about the time, and they start to worry, and that is acceptable. To let them know that it's okay to acknowledge that their mind has wandered and just bring it back to the breathing or bring it back to the I am once their mind has realized that it's wandered. It's totally natural and it's going to happen. And just to let them know that at any time that happens, to just gently bring it back to that breath. The next mini version, or mini version C, I personally think this is really neat. It's called Feeling a Stress Antidote. So the student is going to reflect on what they're feeling. So give them a few moments to get comfortable, close their eyes, and just evaluate and reflect on how they're feeling today. Whether it's sad, angry, anxious, and maybe even just happy. You're going to have students that are just having a great day, which is wonderful. And if they are feeling happy, you can continue to have them practice this activity and feel maybe even elated or more happy or calm. So they're going to reflect on what they're feeling And most importantly, what feeling would help them release or lower their stress level. So you're going to have them breathe in and focus on that stress related feeling. So inhale and let them know that inhale is breathing in. Some students don't know that, so it's important to say that. So inhale, anger, exhale, peace. And inhale, anger, and exhale, peace. And again, you'll slowly start to fade out and allow them to take over. At any point in time, the student may not feel that angry feeling anymore. And that's okay. You can just have them breathe in and continue to breathe out with that peaceful feeling. And if their mind starts to wander, just bring it back to how they're currently feeling and what emotion or what would they need as their stress antidote to hopefully help them feel better. So this is another mini version. This is known as square breathing or box breathing. And I thought this was fascinating because at our school, one of our PE teachers is in the military and National Guard, and they use this type of breathing exercise before they go in any kind of mission or tactical units. So I thought this was fascinating that they use this, and I often tell our students, if it's great enough for the Army, it's good enough for our students. So this is another visual that I found on YouTube that you can play for your students. And if you look up box breathing, there's so many different kinds that will help the student. And eventually I like to have them kind of fade away and maybe find something in the room that they can trace with their eyes. So you're going to inhale for a count of 4 as you travel up the box. You're going to hold as you travel across the box. You're going to exhale as you travel down the box. And then you're going to hold as you travel across the box. So you're creating that square or that box. Eventually, they might not need a visual, so they can close their eyes and imagine a box in their head. But again, it's whatever helps the student. Some students need that visual focus. Some students can find it on their own. And some students can close their eyes and visualize on their own. So that's known as mini version D or box breathing. Sorry this got cut off. But our next relaxation response exercises are known as imagery and visualization. So we like to introduce imagery to our students to have them again get comfortable. And we take them through imagery and using all the senses of your body and how each one of them can incite a certain feeling. So the first one we have them imagine is the smell of fresh baked chocolate chip cookies. So imagining you're smelling it right now and probably craving them. All right. The next one is feeling of swimming on a hot day. So you can give them a little bit of cues such as the cool water or the feeling of the hot sun on their face. The next ones are chirping of birds or the sound of waves, maybe crashing on the shore, going in and out. The next one is the taste of their favorite dessert. Maybe you can see how it feels, when it touches your tongue, or is it sweet or is it sour? You can also have them imagine the sight of a beautiful garden or a sunset or a mountain scene. Now, some students may have not seen these, so even the thought of their bed and their warm blankets and their pillows could be a site of relaxation. So the point of this is that they try to use all of their senses when they're imagining these situations and how powerful that mind is with the mind-body connection and how that can elicit that calm relaxation effect that they need. So one mini version is I think nature really tends to have a relaxing effect for some of us. So again, I might find some music while I do this that goes with the natural elements, such as the wind or rain or waves crashing. So you're going to have the student, again, get comfortable. You can put a scene ahead of them sometimes, or you can have them close their eyes and have them imagine what it would feel like to be one of the following. So you can have them imagine a tree that is strong with roots going through the ground, expansive branches that are swaying with leaves, You can imagine them a mountain that is timeless and strong and stable, a wave that is fluid and limitless as it's crashing in and out, the sun that is radiant and warm, and the sunlight spreading on all things around you, each ray touching something that's outside, as well as the wind that's free, and how the wind can often feel on your arms, your face. So, taking the moment for them to just appreciate the elements and how relaxing they are, but again, using those senses to elicit that response. So, on our PowerPoint, I've linked this picture to a visualization script. This is one of my favorite and my students' favorite things is this visualization script. So if you click on that image, it will take you to this. I'm going to take you through it a little bit quicker than I normally would just because of the time element, but just so you can see how it goes and hopefully practice it with your students. So you're going to have them get to a comfortable spot. And prior to this visualization script, our students had a list of goals and priorities that are important to them. So we gave them a few minutes to kind of do a journal prompt where they had to write down all of the goals that they wanted to accomplish or anything important in their life that they wanted to accomplish. So as they get comfortable, we're going to tell them to think about one of the goals or priorities that they wrote down. Focus your attention on this one goal that is meaningful and important to you. And in this exercise, you'll be using imagery to visualize something that you want to bring into your life. Imagery has been used by many, including top athletes, to enhance their performance. Adjust yourself so that you are comfortable, either in a seated position or lying down. And take a moment to settle in. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Take another deep breath in and let it go. In your mind's eye, imagine a goal that you have for yourself. It may be a personal goal or a professional goal. Just choose one for now, something that you've been wanting to achieve. Once you have your goal in mind, create an intention for it by stating it in the present tense in a positive way as if it's already happening. Your intention may start with, I am or I have. Take a moment to think of your intention, stated positively in the present tense. Once you've created your intention, say it to yourself. Begin to picture yourself achieving that goal. What is it that you're doing? See yourself as vividly as possible. Perhaps you are with others or you are alone. Picture yourself in a setting where you can achieve this goal. What does this place look like? What is going on around you? Whatever images arise are fine. Just let them come up. Don't try to force anything. And if nothing comes to you, that's okay too. Just focus on your breath and relax. Continue to picture yourself achieving your goal. Notice how you feel emotionally. Where do you feel these emotions in your body? Take another moment to picture yourself achieving your goal with as much clarity as possible. Remember every little detail. And everything we create, we first see in our mind's eye. Take a deep breath in and out, and know that you can return to this image anytime you need or want to. For now, leave this mental image and shift your awareness back to your body. Take another deep breath in, and as you exhale, gently lower your chin to your chest. When you are ready, slowly open your eyes and gradually return your gaze back to the room you are in. So that's one example of our visualization script. I like it because it's so positive for our students to focus on their goal in a positive way that should not bring them stress. Our next activity and relaxation response is mindfulness. Now, our students often hear that word and we hear it. It's kind of a buzzword. And if you ask your students what is mindfulness, they really didn't know in the beginning. So we explained what mindfulness is that it's being in the present and gentle intentionality. So doing things calmly and gently with a purpose and focusing then all of your control on it. So something that you have control is that gentle intentionality. Because if you don't have control, they're going to feel a little bit more stress. So something that they can focus on. Being aware of their body and mindful of their emotions. And that's what mindfulness is. We often talk about ways to incorporate mindfulness activities and something as simple as on the way to school or waiting for the bus, waiting at a red light, right before they go to bed, right before they eat. We often have the students come up with their own few minutes of when they can incorporate mindfulness. And I think that helps is through these SEL lessons, the students sometimes often help talk us through what helps them. And I think that's a great opportunity that we have these teachable moments with our students through these lessons. So they've really opened up, especially when you give them those anonymous ways to voice their opinion, then they're actually more inclined to voice it, on our Zooms or in class. They're really opening up with this, which is great. So one thing that we've had is talk about what's meaningful to the students. This helps play a role in some of the activities that we do. It becomes aware because they have ownership in the program as well. So these are just some assignments. We also had a gratitude journal towards Thanksgiving. The students were able to think of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a great little activity I've linked in here that they can talk about things that they're grateful for or looking forward to in their life. And then we focus on some mindfulness activities. We do have a script, but we were thinking of something that could be more physical where you're using the senses. So we do have something linked in here. There's also some that we could hopefully incorporate when we are able to give the students activity equipment, but for the time being, we weren't able to. So the first one was a bubble activity, because I think the hard thing is to relay what mindfulness is to a student. So a teacher in our department came up with this wonderful activity of blowing a bubble. And then you get your bubble container and you take the wand out and what does it look like? And you dip it however many times that you would like to in the bubble solution and you pull it out. And you have control over how much air you would like to put in that bubble. Do you want it to be a big bubble or a small bubble? So blowing the air into the bubble and letting it go and just following the bubble and seeing the change in the colors and then deciding, do you want to let that bubble go or do you want to pop the bubble? So just taking all of your energy, all of your attention, all of your focus on that one activity. So we came up with the activity of a bell activity, something that we could do virtually with our students over Zoom. Because a lot of these activities you can do both virtually as well as in school. Since we can't do a lot of activity, these have been great lessons to incorporate with our students. So the bell activity is, and it's hyperlinked to this picture of a bell. So if at the end you want to go back into the PowerPoint, if you click on the bell, it will take you to a ringing tone of a bell. And we have our students close their eyes and we play the bell sound. And we ask them to raise their hand when they can no longer hear the bell sound. And it's really interesting because they really tend to focus and they like to do it over and over again to see if, when they can raise their hand and kind of when is the last person to raise their hand. So just being aware of, kind of their hearing, but it's also just really interesting how much they're able to focus on that sound. So that's what mindfulness is. We also realize that sometimes students that have a lot of energy can't always sit still for mindfulness activities. So we came up with online mindfulness activities for the students to do. And they've really liked these. So sometimes at the end of class, we have a few minutes that we'll have them go on to one of them and then try it out and then share their screen. So my personal favorite is Sandspiel. It's like using different elements in fun ways and they all interact with each other. So I will have students do that and then take a screenshot and show me the neat, picture they did. Same thing with the Zen Garden or the Growing Galaxy. And then sound mixers are a really great one because the students can create their own relaxation music. So they can save it, they can share it. So that was another fun one for the students to do, as well as the Zen Photon Garden. So they're all very unique ways because with our SEL training, there is no one size fits all. If anything, I have found that there's certain activity that students love and some others love and some others don't like these ones and these people like these ones. So that's the wonderful thing about SEL is that you are going to have something that you find beneficial from this. And that's what we want our students to take away is that you might really enjoy this activity and this activity while another student enjoys this activity and this activity. But I guarantee you that your students are going to find a lot of these lessons beneficial. This semester, we are talking about reframing our students' thoughts. So this is what we're going to start going into soon. Because we understand that stress is inevitable. Our students are going to experience stress, negative stress and positive stress. But how can we reframe our thoughts so that we don't fall into that pattern of making poor decisions or allowing stress to overcome your life? So sometimes it's thought patterns that are causing our students stress. So we're going to teach them how can we change the way that we deal with stressful situations or anxiety. So the first part is being aware. So our students, we want them to be aware of what triggers their anger or what triggers their anxiety. So we have a lot of different activities and worksheets that we can do both virtually and online for the students to kind of be aware of things and emotions that result from certain behaviors or situations. The next one is self-assessment. So our next step is for students to challenge their own negative thoughts. They can write down what upsets them or worries about them, and how does this affect their behaviors. So them being aware and then start to gauge in how they can start to change this pattern. And then lastly, reframing those thought patterns. So they're going to write down a negative situation. They can write down some thoughts they're having about this situation, as well as how can they handle the situation in a positive manner. Maybe they didn't. And what have they learned from that? So what's nice about this is that we might also ask students to come up with situations in an anonymous way, and then we can go through it together and find how is a more positive way to deal or change our thought pattern so that a situation like this can come out in a much better aspect as opposed to making poor decisions or letting that one thought ruin your day. So that is what we're going to focus on this semester. We don't have a whole lot of resources as we kind of go. The best thing that we have found is that our department will often divide and conquer. So one set of teachers will come up with a certain topic and PowerPoint and worksheets while another, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, which we've already done this year. If everyone kind of creates the lesson and we all teach each other, it has really helped make this whole situation of learning something new and teaching it to our students much less stressful because we kind of divided and conquered. We also want to share with you that you don't have to reinvent the wheel for some of these breathing relaxation exercises. We opened a virtual wellness room on our school's website that you can access a lot of our breathing techniques that have beautiful music and beautiful scenery already incorporated without like the YouTube ads that you would normally have if you go to YouTube, or the ads for other videos. So if you go to our lths.org website and on the right-hand side, click Support and Wellness, you can check out our wellness room, and there's some really wonderful scripts that have already been done, as well as other resources to help your students and your community. So we've had just wonderful responses for this website, and our staff is just, very helpful in creating this. We have just a great tech department. So please check it out. We'd love to hear your feedback on it. So I'm going to end this with the only time minis do not work is when you forget to do them. So I think it's important to note that just like anything, if you want to get better at something, you have to practice it. And that's for our students too, is Doing a breathing exercise only once might be great for that moment, but it's not helping them in the long run of dealing with stress over time. They need to continually practice relaxation techniques so that they become a habit that can eventually help them as they get older. So we can practice them as much as we can in class, but it's nice to ask the student, hey, how have you been incorporating this into your daily life? And I think if we continue to do that, the students will become more aware and hopefully incorporate it more. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video, and hopefully you got something out of it. Again, my name is Michelle Cannon, and that's my email address. And Mr. Todd Elkai, my department chair, that's his email address. If you would like to reach out with any questions or comments, we'd love to hear your feedback. And if you've done anything, we would love to maybe take some of your ideas. So thank you so much and good luck this semester.